My name is Roy Andrade. I'm Associate Professor of Bluegrass, Old Time, and Roots Music Studies in the Department of Appalachian Studies. And we're standing here in the Richard Blaustein exhibit. Tune in on my memories, the work and play of Richard Blaustein. This was the idea of the former museum director here, Randy Sanders, who approached me about it. Richard was a close friend and mentor of mine, and really he's the guy that pulled me back across the country. I'd been living in California, just out running around playing music and seeing the country, and needed to get back to Appalachia, and heard about Richard and the program that he started, the Center for Appalachian Studies here at ETSU, and he was kind of keeping old-time music alive in this bluegrass centric program. And all that was appealing to me. I could tell he was a really bright guy and that he had all this experience teaching, but mostly playing this kind of music and thinking about it, and being out among the people playing it. I know that was really important to Richard. I think he thought of himself as a musician and kind of one of the people, more than he did, more than he identified, say, as a professor or a scholar or an intellectual. He was very much those things too, but he really loved to play music, and he loved he loved the fellowship of music. But we kind of started by gathering some photographs from the family, from Rosemary, his wife, and his two daughters, Rachel and Jessie. That's kind of where this began, was with pictures. And you can see they're kind of a centerpiece of this exhibit. We kind of rimmed the room here. And of course, the music is central. Really, this is all about the music in some ways, but what I see as kind of the heart of this exhibit are these two panels on the back walls. They're a little discreet back here, but if you take the time and check them out, there is a lot here, and these work with QR codes, so a visitor can walk up with their phone, any phone, and scan this QR code, and it'll open up a different collection of Richard's music. In the really early days, he started playing this music in 1957, 1958. The folk revival was just starting, and he wrote it out, the whole thing. It's really kind of astounding what he was able to achieve here, in Johnson City, Tennessee in the 70s and the 80s. A true visionary, So the idea was to try to capture something of this profound individual, and something of his humor too. His humor, that's a little harder to capture, but anyone who knew him knows what I'm talking about. He was a delightful person to be around and to spend time with. Here's a fiddle given to him by the banjo player in the Dixie Dewdrops, Ivan Powell. His mandolin's back there, one of his banjos, his main fiddle that he played. And you can see that's sort of the centerpiece there, Spencer's handiwork. Features the ebook that we did for Richard's 1988 project down around Bowmantown. And that was an ethnographic, more or less ethnographic, study of Richard's buddies. These guys he was playing music with in the 70s He'd been friends with them for years and discovered that these guys had all made records at home in the 1940s. 30 years earlier, the same guys had recorded themselves. And Richard thought it would be an interesting study to see how their music had changed 30 years later, the same group of guys. So he took the original recordings and presented those alongside a new batch of recordings with these same musicians, and then wrote about this region of our community here, Bowmantown, out beyond Sulphur Springs there, just north of Johnson City. And yeah, it's out of print, long out of print, so we decided to do an ebook with all of the original material and then a bunch of outtakes, more audio and photographs that they didn't use. So the morning that Richard passed away, I was able to show him this, just hours before he died, on a tablet. I'm happy for that. He got to see his work and hear it. It's one of the last things of his life, was to see his work kind of renewed for a new audience. I know he was very proud of this. So this is a very special little station. Over here is the video companion to the audio panel there. Same deal. Video recordings. Here's Richard early on, 1978, playing his banjo for his students. Here's a video of a square dance. Richard playing in the square dance. The Southern Appalachian video ethnography series that he was a part of. So, chance to see Richard in action. And then here is a kiosk that I was a part of, gosh, quite a long time ago, 16 years ago, I guess. I made this early history of country music in the Tri-Cities. Back then, this was a big deal. You could peel back the pages like no one had seen. It was totally cutting edge to be able to do that. Now it doesn't seem like super much of a big deal, but here there are videos of Richard.
These old ballads were mostly adult entertainment, but there are also many songs which were used to entertain children. Most kids today like to be scared a little bit, and that's why horror movies and horror comics are so popular.
You can hear the Southern influence in his speech. So this isn't necessarily just based on around Richard, but he is featured heavily here, and this scrapbook here follows a script that Richard wrote with Charles Wolfe, the noted country music scholar, that they made into a slide tape show, it's called. So super interesting to talk to Richard about music and what it means, what it meant to him, and what it means all these years later. What does it mean for a city person to play this Appalachian music and to study it deeply? What does it mean for a city person, for a New York guy to move to Appalachia? All right, I know what it meant to Richard. It meant everything.